Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. So in today's video, we'll be solving the May June 2022 paper code 0620. It's for chemistry. It's an MCQ paper for extended and it's a 45 minutes paper. So let's move and let's start solving the first 20 questions, and the remaining 20 questions will be solving in the second part of this paper. The first question states, which two gases diffuse at the same rate at the same temperature? So we have to keep in mind that all these substances which are given here, they are gases. We are talking about diffusion from a region of high concentration region to the region of low concentration region. They should take diffusion at the same rate and as well as at the same temperature. So again, this question is about the molar mass and the molecular mass. The two substances which will have the same MR will have the same rate of diffusion at the same temperature. Carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, no, it is not possible. Carbon dioxide has a MR of 44 and carbon monoxide 12 plus 16. It's going to be 8 to 28. So this is not. Carbon monoxide and nitrogen, for carbon monoxide it is 28, nitrogen N2, 14 into 2, it is 28. Oh, this is the same. Chlorine 35.5 and fluorine is somewhere around, it is in the second period. So fluorine has 9, it is not. Nitrogen 14, oxygen 16. So here we have the answer, option number B, which at the same rate, at the same temperature will diffuse. Now the student is measuring, the second question, the time is taken for the student to measure 2 grams of magnesium. So here he is weighing and he is using and doing it at a regular interval of time and dissolving into 50 centimeter cube volume of dilute sulfuric acid. Which other apparatus is required by him or by her to complete this particular experiment? So stop clock, yes, because the time is taken. Measuring cylinder to measure. Thermometer, there is no question here. There is in the statement nothing is related to the thermometer, so it is not. Balance, yes, to measure 2 grams. So we have to choose the option 1, 2, 4, and option A is correct for us. So the answer is option A. Moving forward to the third question, a chromatogram of single substance T is shown here. Which measurements are used to find? So chromatograph is basically you take a paper, chromatogram paper, you put 1 centimeter above, you draw a line with a pencil, you drop your sample onto it and you dip it and you allow it to run inside a solvent up to 75 to 80% without allowing it to move. It should be still. And then the spots get separate here. This is for the separation of pigment and etc. So which measurements are used? So here we have the RF value. The formula for RF is basically the solvent, the distance traveled by the solvent upon the solvent front, that is the topmost. So here we have the distance traveled by the solvent. This from the baseline up to here. This is my solvent front and the distance traveled from the baseline up to the sample here. So here we have the option 3 and 4. So the option D is correct for us. Please remember the formula for it because it is asked in the theory paper also to calculate it. X and Y are two different elements, the fourth question. X and Y have the same number of nucleons. Nucleons is nothing but the number of protons and neutrons in the nucleus of an atom of an element. Which statement about X and Y is correct? Let's see. They have the same physical property. Okay. Their atoms have the same numbers of electrons. It is not always mandatory. We're talking about neutrons. It will vary. Protons and electrons, if they are same, we can say they have the same atomic number, but not probably. They are in the different group of periodic table. For example, argon belongs to group 8, has atomic mass 40, and calcium belong to group 2 has also atomic mass 40. So they are from different group, but they have the same atomic mass, which is the number of protons and neutrons. They have different relative mass. No. So our correct option is C. Let's go to the fifth question. The diagram shows us the three macromolecule, which is PQR. Q here is definitely diamond, and this is graphite. And P is definitely, yes, it is silicon dioxide. So P is silicon dioxide. Q is diamond because of the tetrahedral three-dimensional structure, and graphite, each layer of graphene, and the van der Waals force and the another level of graphene. So our correct option is C for us. Moving to the sixth question. Which dot and cross diagram shows the arrangement of outer shell electrons in a molecule of hydrogen fluoride? Hydrogen has atomic number 1, electronic configuration is also 1. Chlorine has atomic number 17, electronic configuration is 2, 8, 7. So the outermost shell 7, in the outermost shell 1. So let's see which one is correct here. Hydrogen having 7, no, this is not. Only 1, not. Hydrogen, chlorine having both 7, 7, no. So our option A is correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and hydrogen 1. This one is our correct option. Please remember this to solve your MCQ much more strategically so that you don't waste your time. The equation for the reaction between barium chloride and dilute sulfuric acid is shown here. We have to find out the state symbol for it. Okay. It is an acid, so definitely it's going to be aqueous. These two are formed out of which barium sulfate, being a low reactive metal, will definitely form a precipitate, so it's going to be solid. It is again an acid, it's going to be aqueous, solid, aqueous, and barium chloride is also aqueous. So let's see which row follows: aqueous, aqueous, sodium, solid, and aqueous. Option A for us for the 7 is correct. Eighth question, methane and steam react in the presence of a catalyst. So here we have the reaction. The methane, 0.5 mole of methane. So here we have 0.5 mole. It is reacting with 0.5 mole of steam. What is the volume of carbon monoxide and hydrogen produced? Measure at RTP. So here we have to find out the volume for it. So it is a mole based question. Let's solve it here. Methane, we have 0.5 mole, which is reacting with steam, or we can say water, which is also 0.5 mole. Okay, now methane is to carbon monoxide, because that's what I have asked, is 1:1 ratio in the chemical equation. So for carbon monoxide, the mole will also become 0.5 mole. Okay, now let's calculate and find out the volume for carbon monoxide produced in dm³ at RTP. We have a very simple formula. It is mole into 24, which is 0.5 into 24. We get as 12 dm³. Now this we got for carbon monoxide, definitely. Now let's find out for hydrogen also. So let me take an eraser and erase it. So here we have this space. Let me erase this one. Okay, let me take the pencil. Yeah, this one. So carbon monoxide is to hydrogen is also the same. But here the mole ratio is 1:3. Carbon monoxide is 1 mole, hydrogen produced in a form of gas is 3 mole. So hydrogen 0.5 into 3, which we get 1.5 mole. Again the same formula. Volume of hydrogen gas produced in dm³ at RTP is 1.5, that is mole, into 24. 24, and here we will be getting 36 dm³. So 12 and 36 are option number D is correct for us. Moving to the ninth question, a compound element X has a formula X2O, and the relative formula mass is 144, which is the element X. So here we know the oxygen. Oxygen has atomic mass, relative atomic mass is 16, and we know the total MR is 144. So X, which is present twice, plus 16, the atomic mass of oxygen, is equal to 144. So 2X is equal to 144 minus 16. 2X is equal to, which we get as 128. Therefore, X is equal to 128 divided by 2. Therefore, X is equal to 64, and the atomic mass of copper is 64. Therefore, the compound formula is copper 2O. This is a copper oxide. Moving to the 10th question, students. The diagram shows the electrolysis of concentrated hydrochloric acid and concentrated aqueous sodium chloride using carbon electrode. At which electrode is hydrogen produced? A hydrogen, being a cation, is always produced at cathode. And we have again concentrated aqueous sodium chloride. We're going to get hydrogen only. Always remember, cathode is a negative electrode. So let's see on which electrodes do we get it. Negative electrode in the first one is 2, and in the last one, the second one, is 4. Therefore, the option 2 and 4D is correct for us. The diagram shows the electrolysis, the 11th question, of aqueous copper sulfate using inert electrode. Which arrow shows the movement of electrons in the circuit? The electrons, they always move from negative terminal to the positive terminal. Always remember. So let's see how the electrons are going to move. The electrons are coming and they are entering cathode. Cathode is a negative electrode and anode is a positive electrode. So therefore, option 8 is coming from positive to negative. No. C, it is going from positive to negative, and the D, no, it is not coming directly from the circuit. The D and the C are showing within the electrolytic solution. So these two are not the option. Option has to be from B and A. This is an electrolytic solution movement. That will be the movement of ions. Then C and D would be a correct option. So option B is correct because it is coming from cathode, which is a negative electrode, and then entering to the anode, which is a positive electrode. Moving to our 12th question. Which row identifies a chemical change and a physical change? Chemical change is a permanent change. It's a chemical reaction which takes place. Physical change is a temporary change which is reversible in most of the cases. So let's see which one is correct here. Boiling ethanol, no. We are just changing the boiling point. Burning ethanol, dissolving ethanol, this is just dissolving part. Evaporating, again, it's just a change in the physical state. So burning ethanol. Burning ethanol, physical change, no. Burning ethanol, no. Dissolving ethanol, yes, it can be, but it should match with the other option also. So it's evaporating ethanol, and here we get with the 12th, the option number B. 13th, which statement explains why increasing the concentration of reactant increases the rate? Now, this question was also asked in the previous paper which we solved. There was a tabular form where I always mentioned that the concentration of reactant is directly proportional to the collision rate. If the concentration increases, then the collision rate of the particles also increasing. It has no impact on the activation energy per se. Okay. So 13, it increases the collision rate. Yes. It lowers, it has no impact on the activation energy. So these two options are directly getting cancelled. There are more particles per unit volume. Yes, because they are colliding at a higher rate. The particles are coming together and colliding with each other. So this is also correct. So option number option number B, which we have 1 and 4, which is correct. Moving to the 14th question, when the colorless gas N2O4 is heated, it forms a brown gas which is NO2. Okay, nitrogen dioxide gas is formed. When the reaction mixture is cooled down, the brown gas fades away. Nitrogen dioxide gas fade away and it turns back to colorless. which means it is again forming N2O4, which was a colorless gas. So by this, what we can understand, the reaction took place. N2O4 got decomposed from colorless, it changes to brown gas. Once it cooled down, the heat energy was gone, it again changed back. So it is an example neither of decomposition, displacement, reduction. It's an example of reversible reaction. It is reversing, and from brown color it is again turning back to colorless gas, which is NO2 is again changing back to N2O4. 15th question, water is added to anhydrous copper sulfate. Okay. What happens during this? So it is a water of crystallization. Anhydrous copper sulfate is white in color. When water is added to it, it changes to blue in color. So definitely the copper sulfate turns blue, copper sulfate turns blue. White, white, these two options are definitely not there. So we have to choose either from A and B. Now, out of 5, which will be the correct one? We have to check that too. So copper sulfate turns blue and the solution form gets colder, or the copper sulfate, now the temperature decreases when it's an endothermic reaction. But in copper sulfate, when we add water, it becomes much more hotter because that reaction is an exothermic reaction. Therefore, the option B is the correct option for us. Moving to the next question, here we have, that is the 16th question. Here we have an energy level diagram based question for endothermic engineering. This is one of the highly asked questions which we have always. So, which row on the energy level diagram shows the overall energy change for an endothermic reaction? So, endothermic reaction where the heat is absorbed, it is taken in, heat is not released. The heat energy is being taken in from the environment. So, the reactant is reacting, it is very much straight, then suddenly the heat is being released in the energy level diagram, and here we can see there is a proportionate value. So this is the high activation energy, then the products are being formed. So here the option B talks is about the endothermic reaction. Moving to question number 17, when a hydrogen oxygen fuel cell is in operation, or a different reaction happens at each electrode. At hydrogen electrode, hydrogen gas undergo and form hydrogen. It undergoes basically lose electron. This is basically oxidation which is happening. There is loss of electron. And at oxygen, which is an anode, there is reduction which is happening. Okay, got it. The electrodes that are lost at the hydrogen travels through the external circuit to the oxygen electrode, where they are gained by the oxygen and water. A hydrogen-oxygen fuel cell is operated for a period of time and 4 moles of oxygen molecules are formed. So here we have the reaction, basically 2H2. This is basically the water. It's a hydrogen-oxygen. So here we are forming the equation for water. Now the question says 4 mole of oxygen is consumed. 4 moles of oxygen is consumed. Here the hydrogen is to oxygen is present in 2:1 ratio. So for example, if 4 mole of oxygen is occupied by just 1 mole, then for hydrogen which is present in 2 ratio, 4 into 2 which will be happening, it is going to be 8. And the MR for hydrogen, here is 2, because 2 hydrogen atoms are present and one atomic mass of one hydrogen atom is 1. So 1 into 2 becomes 2. So we have to find out the mass of hydrogen, which is mole, into MR, which is 2 into 8, which we got here. This is the mass which is given of hydrogen, which we just find out, which is 16. So which option is correct? Option number D is correct for us. The mass of the hydrogen consumed will be double of that of oxygen, which is going to be 16. The oxides of 2 elements X and Y are separately dissolved in water and the pH of each solution is tested. Oxide X has pH 1. Okay, the pH 1, so it is an acidic oxide. Acidic oxide, which means it is non-metallic in nature. It's a non-metal. Always remember. Y is having a pH 13, which means it's a basic oxide, and basic oxides are those oxides which are metallic, metals. So which information about X and Y is correct? Acidic, oxide is acidic, X. Okay, oxide is basic, Y. Metal is X, no, metal is Y. So X acidic, Y basic, metal is Y because it's a basic oxide, and non-metal. So option B for 80 for us is correct. And 19th question, not very far. An acid is neutralized by adding an excess of insoluble solid base. A soluble salt is formed. How is the pure salt obtained from the reaction mixture? First, we have to do the filtration. We have to filter the insoluble salt which is present, definitely. Now we have to also evaporate the soluble salt which is present, because they'll be getting the, and then that soluble salt you have to do crystallization, then we will get the pure salt. So which step is correct here? Filtration. Option number D for us is correct. Moving to the 20th question, substance J takes part in a redox reaction, and in the reaction J gains the electron. It is undergoing reduction, gains the electron. Which statement is correct? J is an oxidizing agent and it is oxidized in the reaction. No, always remember the substance which undergo reduction itself it allows someone to get its oxygen. So it is also act as an oxidizing agent. Whereas the substance which undergo oxidation, it loses electron and it always acts as a reducing agent. So definitely if it is undergoing reduction, if it is an oxidizing agent, it will never get oxidized. It will always get reduced. So J is reducing agent? No. It is undergoing reduction, it is an oxidizing agent. So these two options get cancelled. J is an oxidizing agent and both the option is given. But always remember, if any substance is an oxidizing agent, it always gets reduced and undergoes reduction by gaining the electron. So for us, the option number B is correct. So with this, we are done with the first part of our video for solving this paper. We'll be meeting soon to solve the remaining 20 questions from this paper. Till then, take care.